From the mountaintops, a trophy was lifted in this building last time here, but that notoriety won't dissuade the visitors. It's Colorado Springs Switchbacks versus Detroit City FC, presented by Widener. Welcome one and all to this broadcast on ESPN+. My name is Mark Schoenster. I am joined by Eric Dobransky to my right. It is a heavyweight clash here between these two sides, and of course, the hosts last time they played in this building. What a day it was. A 3-0 victory over Rhode Island to hoist their first ever USL Championship title.
And Mark, not the start to the 2024 season that Colorado Springs Switchbacks was envisioning. 0-5 to start the season, only scoring 1 goal and 9 goals against, but that narrative changed really quickly as they went on 9 unbeaten after that. Their balance in both boxes was showcased in the final with the 3 goals and the clean sheet, and this final goal by Ronaldo Damas to start the second half really put that match out of reach.
It is a tough place to play, and it's been coronated with a trophy, but they're not the only team who likes to play here at Widener Field.
Yeah, it's a team that has come and had success here, and they're looking to spoil their second straight home opener here at Colorado Springs. Started early with a goal by Elvis Samo in the 11th minute, found the equalizer by Mahoney to start the second half, and then the effort here by Connor Rutz to find the game winner in the 89th minute. So you can see 2 wins and only the 1 loss here at Widener.
Well, for Colorado Springs, it is early in the season. They're still trying to figure some things out and get all the pieces into places. They're going to be relying on a veteran in Zach Sandy to help put it all together.
His versatility and ground coverage make him influential in both boxes. He disrupts play with winning duels, screening passes. But what makes him even more frightening for opponents is the way he hunts space going forward. 13 goals and 8 assists in his time at Colorado Springs.
With that on the other side for Detroit City, Danny Dicchio wasn't happy with just 2 goals last week, so Ben Morris and company will be looking to put some more into the back of the net here tonight.
10 goals last season, tied for the most on the team. Kenny helped carry the load offensively with no Maxi Rodriguez. Appeared in every single regular season match of 2024. He provides the multi-dimensional look to this Detroit City attack. He can sit in front of a back line, initiate the build, along with offering that verticality in transition.
The countdown to kick has begun. The reigning champs are looking for W number 1 of the season. Detroit looking to make this venue their second home. Kickoff coming up next on ESPN+.
Injured in a crash? Get McDivitt and you get a firm dedicated to every single detail of your case.
We have the knowledge and resources to investigate the crash and your insurance company's small print.
Details matter. That's why we dive deep into every aspect of your case. This gives us the firepower we need to make the insurance company pay you the money you deserve.
We never ask you to pay a penny until we get you max money for your injuries.
Online at McDivittLaw.com.
McDivitt.
The moment you call McDivitt, an action plan is put into place right away to get you the help you need.
Each case and each client is different, with different needs and solutions. Your attorney and team immediately investigates every aspect of your crash and injuries.
We track down all the paperwork and deal directly with the insurance company for you.
We keep you in the loop every step of the way, fighting to get you max money for your injuries.
And you never pay us a dime until we get money for you.
McDivitt.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh boy. Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Today's player walkout is sponsored by Children's Hospital Colorado. Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC hosting Detroit City FC. second year in a row, an early season clash between
Just their starting 11 from last week's 2-0 win over Miami FC. Collectively, a mix of returners from last season's playoff team and newcomers. Defensively, returning Villanueva, Carroll, Bryant. You add Wheat, the experience he brings, but a brand new midfield. First full season for Cedeno. And watch for the influence of Jay Chapman.
So there are your 11s. That'll be what they trot out to start this game. Detroit City in their white uniforms, debuting their 4 Detroit kits. Meanwhile, it's your home black unis for Colorado Springs. The official for today's game, Greg Dopka. He'll give us the whistle, and we're off and running at Widener Field. It's the Switchbacks and Detroit City doing battle. Worth noting, not the yellow ball out there right now, Eric, because we were seeing some flurries before the game. Looks good right now, but you never know when Mother Nature might kick in again and bring in some downfall. Do you ever have to play too many games in the snow or coach many games in the snow?
Actually, now that I think about it, no, I don't think I've played or even recruited in the snow, to be fair. I think I've always managed to be clever with with the times and moments I found myself in cold weather. Luckily, never had to stand.
Hanya cuts it inside. Akeem Ward trying to connect with it, and it's cleared away. Well, these are two places that certainly don't have the luxury of not worrying about snow, Detroit and Colorado Springs. Get out here in the mountains or by the lakes. We're gonna get some precipitation. Zandy sends the ball inside, headed away. Early pressure for Colorado Springs. Hanya tried to bend that one far post. Some oohs and ahs from the home fans. A promising start to this one.
Yeah, fast start for Colorado Springs Switchbacks, something that James Chambers is going to enjoy seeing. Hanya putting it on that left foot, just teeing that ball up and putting it just wide of Carlos Saldana.
Let's take a look at our injury report brought to you by Common Spirit Health. Hey, that's pretty good news right there, Eric.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's exactly how you want to start the season. You know, you might have a player or two that are dealing with a knock here and there just from preseason, but everybody available, nobody out for any significant amount of time, and that's how you want to keep it. You talk to a lot of these coaches at the beginning of the season, and they all discuss how long this season is, and that depth, that durability, that availability is so crucial.
Especially as the year goes on. You don't want to push anybody too. It's a marathon, not a sprint, the soccer season. I mean, look, we're currently playing with a little bit of snow flurrying down. By the time the season's over, there might be snow flurrying down again.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, and it's one of those those approaches, and when you talk to coaches, you talk to players, organizations, you try to find, obviously every match is important. I mean, even when we talked to James Chambers and we were kind of discussing 2024, he was like, guys, we're on to 2025. We're on to this next match. We're focused on this season.
Hanya bending ball inside, header towards goal. Not a bad look from the Switchbacks.
But it's also that perspective of starting the season off on the right foot. And for Colorado Springs, they started out 0-5 last season and went on to win the USL Championship. As we see that delivery, the header just wide. I mean, goodness, Colorado Springs Switchbacks have come out firing on all cylinders. They are playing very front-footed. They are occupying some dangerous space. They are using every inch of this field right now. Rare giveaway by Mahoney.
Morris able to pick his pocket. Certainly an enthusiastic start from the home side. We're able to get a 2-2 draw on the road last week against El Paso, but to be quite honest, you scored a goal off an early penalty, and then your second goal was off a pretty lucky deflection. James Chambers said that we weren't pleased with the performance, as you see Chambers there, but given how we played, couldn't have hoped for any more than a point in that matchup. He felt that El Paso had a little bit more jump in their step, probably because it was their home opener. So Colorado Springs will have that luxury here today. But yeah, he was not happy with it, and I think for good reason.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you concede that late, even at that point when you concede in the 92nd minute, the equalizer, you already have an idea of what the overall performance you feel and you saw. So you felt that maybe you could escape with 3 points, and then you concede that late, and then you leave with 1. And as you mentioned, felt like based on how they had played, that was about the right result. Now it just wants to continue to layer in performance after performance.
Meanwhile, for Detroit, second straight road game to start the year. And it was a 2-0 victory on the road against Miami. A game Danny Dicchio knew going in. There was a lot of unknown. He told me, first off, new head coach there who doesn't have any previous USL experience, and we'll hold that thought for a moment. Colorado Springs once again on the prowl. Good cut inside. Rolling effort, though, lacked the luster. A run there by Huramet. Just didn't have any juice on that shot.
He has been very active in this first 7 minutes, as this front three has been. His ability to cut back and then just unable to connect on that right-footed chance. Really good timing on that cutback and putting himself and upgrading that opportunity.
A 2-0 victory last week for Detroit on the road. On top of it being a brand new head coach. A lot of players not from the USL on that roster as well. So Danny Dicchio was saying, look, yeah, we're gonna have to do some adjusting once we get into the game. Ball played across the center, and a header will go adrift.
Well, for Miami FC, featuring a player in Sebastian Blanco in midfield, somebody that has a lot of MLS pedigree, a lot of success.
We're gonna get a free kick here in favor of Detroit. Welcome to the 2025 USL Kickoff presented by Terminix. Throughout the month of March, the USL will be kicking off across the country. Join us for all the action on ESPN and CBS platforms. Now we still have that new season shine here in the USL.
What an opening weekend, and then Rhode Island kicking off their 2025 campaign today. Defending Eastern Conference champs.
Last year was quite the year, and I think we're off to a good start here in 2025 with some of the drama we had in the first week.
Yeah, we were talking earlier before kickoff was Charleston Battery opening up with Lou City to open the season, and then you have Rhode Island tonight.
That's a doozy of a double to start the season.
This Colorado Springs Switchbacks team will go on the road for the next 2. Go at Sacramento Republic and then at Indy 11.
So a tumble happening here between several players. Marco Micheletto, I believe that was Carroll. It'll be a free kick for the home side.
This is what Galetto offers, is that explosion, that idea, that vision, where and how he wants to get to certain spaces.
This free kick scoring opportunity, although not much of a scoring opportunity here from this far out, but it could turn into one. It's brought to you by Underline, delivering gigabit fiber internet. Underline.com/COS for more. You mentioned it earlier when I asked James Chambers about how the crowd was in that championship winning game last year. He was very adamant. We don't think about last year now. Our sole focus is on 2025 and on Detroit City in particular. 2024 is long gone. That being said, the fan energy was there all season last year, and he's hoping they bring it again here this year. But he mentioned we as a team have to do our part to earn that energy. And although it is a great crowd here, it's also been so far a positive performance from Colorado Springs, so you can feel the buzz.
Yeah, anytime you can feature and watch a high-octane attack like Colorado Springs Switchbacks, I mean, that's always entertaining as we see the yellow for Polisi.
A yellow card has been issued to Marcello Polisi of Detroit City FC. This caution is sponsored by Diversis Health, mental health and well-being for all. Remember to take a moment to breathe.
I actually think it was a really top-class performance by this Detroit City FC midfield last week.
They completed more passes than any other team in the league opening weekend. That one seemed to have gone off the hand of Zandy, but it was actually too much passing according to Danny Dicchio. He felt that they got a little bit too complacent with the ball. He said you always worry about that when you go up a man, which is what happened in that game. A red card was issued in the 40th minute of that one against Miami. And he felt there was a considerable dip in energy from both sides. He felt they weren't clinical enough, too happy enjoying possession. He said, look, I'm an aggressive coach. I don't want to just, quote unquote, see out the game. Although getting a 2-0 victory and opening week of the season, go on the road, get 3 points, say, all right, see ya, we're done here. Certainly not the worst thing. Here they are on the attack. Deflected effort, still in the fray. Our first foray into the attacking third.
And it's just that human element for if you're the team that goes down a man or the team that goes up. You're gonna naturally kind of sit back, absorb some pressure, make those channels difficult to play through. And if you're the team that's up the player, sometimes you assume too much. You assume that there's gonna be a goal there to be had. There's an opportunity to be had there, but you've gotta go ahead and create it. You've gotta be aggressive. You've gotta find that balance between being ball dominant and being brave in those certain scenarios. And I think that's that balance that Detroit City was looking for last week. Obviously had the 2 goals for the difference, but obviously that second goal coming late.
So although business-like in execution, still a lot of work to be done, according to Danny Dicchio. And look, I mean, if you're a Detroit City fan, you gotta be happy that even in a 2-0 victory, your coach thinks there's still things that can be honed and improved. That bodes well for the quality of this team here on the road.
Well, it's so fascinating, and you bring up a great point. And I'm gonna pull both these teams into it, is James Chambers and Danny Dicchio. They're very attack-minded, aggressive coaches, but what have they done? They've with feature at a very high level is defensive players in terms of by name positionally, but by role are very aggressive going forward and very effective going forward. I mean, even Matt Real there out wide. Now you feature Akeem Ward on the right side. Same thing for Detroit City. Stephen Carroll has been a mainstay in this back line. Michael Bryant had the first goal against Miami FC last week.
Anya bringing it forward. Able to traverse through some traffic. Now Tejada gets tapped back out to him, but a sliding clearance from Villanueva. Another challenge rolling out of play. Sunbelt Rentals, local hustle, national muscle. This will roll all the way across. Detroit City looking to get out of their own end here. Talking about this visiting side, James Chambers, first off, started off by saying Danny Dicchio is a terrific coach. And he felt they're a side that's really good in possession, and they brought in some nice new players as well. He described them as very resolute defensively, definitely one of the stronger teams in the East, mind you. And he felt last week, talking about for this matchup, that his side didn't do well enough with the ball. We didn't recognize that we got the looks we wanted, and we need to do that in this game. And up against this Detroit City team, when you recognize you're getting the looks you want, that's a rare opportunity. You're not going to get as many openings and lanes that you're looking for when you're up against a side like Detroit City. Although, there was an onslaught of them here at the beginning of the match. And yet here we are, 0-0.
Yeah, it's going to be about taking your opportunities. We saw a few of them early on that just missed that final piece, that final execution. It's about fine margins, especially when you're playing against, when you have a matchup with two teams that have the highest of ambitions in what they want to accomplish in 2025.
A little bit loose on the touch there from Darren Smith, though he is fortunate for a throw-in. We're here, Colorado Springs, and of course, one of the common talking points about this venue, not only, of course, is it a tough place to play because of the team, it's not just a tough place to play because of the fans, as Tejada nearly has an opportunity, but well stepped in by Shane Wheat. But it's not just a tough venue to play because of the team and because of the environment the fans provide, although that's going to make a place tough. But then you have to add in, of course, the height, the altitude of where this stadium is located. And I asked Danny Dicchio, how much are you and your team paying attention to that? How much are you trying to handle that? And he told me, look, there are all kinds of studies about the best way to go about it. The two prevailing solutions are you either go in 3 to 4 days early to get acclimated, or you go in the day of before you really start to feel its effects. And he's not sure how true either of those are, especially the latter. He mentioned that one time when he was playing in Colorado, he ran for 10 minutes as a player in the high altitude and then felt awful. He said he felt like he was going to die. I mean, you just feel it in your chest when you're up that high, especially if you're not used to it. So his solution, we try not to talk about it. We don't want to make it an excuse, and you don't want it to get in your players' heads. One thing that he was happy about was that the temperature this go around is about the same as it is in Detroit, so they didn't have to adjust to it getting colder. And for those of you curious for how cold it is right now in Colorado, it is 35 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna get our first corner kick of the match, 19 minutes into the game. This corner kick is brought to you by T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence. Driven ball, got a head on it, but can only get underneath the football. Well, it's a packed crowd here at Widener Field, and for good reason. They're celebrating what was accomplished in 2020.
James Chambers, his coaching staff, this team.
Meanwhile, on the other side of things, here's Smith. He's gonna take a go. Darren Smith, ambitious.
And I don't mean to keep harping on the 0-5 start for Colorado Springs, but I just don't know if you see that a lot coming from a champion in terms of how they ended the season. But in his first season, James Chambers as the head coach, I mean, to be able to navigate a start like that, I mean, that just speaks volumes to the way, the relationships that they've built from coaching staff to players, and then the commitment and the belief that they have as a complete organization. Because I'm not sure that with a first-year head coach, you start 0-5, you score 1 goal and concede 9, and I think everybody saw the acquisition of Ronaldo Damas last season, and then you see that in 5 games. I don't know how many organizations don't start pressing the panic button just a bit.
Yeah.
But talking to James Chambers early on in that season, that was so far from the case. They had full belief in what they were seeing in training, and then on top of that, the character that they had within the building.
Yeah, I don't care how much nuance you utilize. If you're someone from the outside looking in on an 0-5 start to a season, even probably the hardiest of fans, they're having doubts.
Yeah.
They're thinking, all right, well, maybe it's just not our year. We'll run it back another year. We'll get it figured out.
Especially when offensively, it was a team that was kind of built to be that high-flying offense. I mean, Speedy Williams in midfield. I mean, there was a lot of pieces, and it just was not clicking early on. They ended up finishing second in the West. Hosted that final. And then, as I mentioned in the open, full display of what we saw towards the middle and tail end of the season from Colorado Springs Switchbacks. It's that combination in both boxes, and you talk to any coach, you need to find that balance.
Driven ball inside, took a couple of skips. No one could connect on it for the home team. Now sprung ball forward, being chased down by Williams, and then he's called for the foul. Not happy with the decision, but play goes on. Down goes Ward. So we're gonna get another free kick here for Colorado Springs. I'll quickly take it and get things going once again. Soccer season is here, and SeatGeek is the official ticketing partner of the USL. Get all your USL tickets and more from the #1 ticketing site, SeatGeek, your ticket to great seats. How about the faithful here? They bought their SeatGeek tickets. Fishing for Tejada down the field, flag goes up. You mentioned some new names in the midfield for this Colorado Springs side. Charlie Adams getting the start today. Marco Micheletto getting the start again. He scored the goal in the 2nd minute after drawing the penalty in their season opener on the road. Micheletto, who was a familiar fixture at the USL League One level with the likes of Tormenta, went to MLS Next Pro, then found his way back to USL Championship with New Mexico United, and now he's here with the Switchbacks, a player that James Chambers thought just matched up with their style of play and from a culture standpoint. He said he could play a lot of positions, he's 2-footed, and all in all, just a good footballer. Second chance, denied a second time. 2 pushes there for Huramet. Neither one could get through. So we do have a player down for Detroit. It's last week's goal scorer, Michael Bryant. This injury stoppage brought to you by Common Spirit Health. Let's get a peek at what occurred. Looks like may have taken a shot. Took one for the team here. First one's fine. Second one, able to get it away. And looks like it's the follow through, actually. That's where he suffered on that defensive effort. One of the roles of playing on defense, though, Eric.
Putting your body on the line when you're in your defensive third in that 18-yard box. Commitment and discipline. And you mentioned Marco Micheletto, the addition of Charlie Adams. Those are two players, I mean, you talk about what they bring and the qualities and characteristics and attributes as players, but also two personalities that fit, again, the ambition of this team, winning. Coming from two Western Conference teams that had tremendous success in 2024. I mean, Micheletto being a part of that New Mexico United side that won the West, and then Charlie Adams, a massive role in the resurgence and the incredible season we saw from Las Vegas Lights last year, being a top 4 team in the West.
This one falls down to Morris. Certainly always good to bring in guys who have seen success. Villanueva lofting it in, nodded back out. That was a bit ambitious and exuberant from Alex Villanueva. Young left back. Piggyback riding Akeem Ward there.
But I think even that play is a glimpse of where Detroit City FC want to live and want to own that space. They've always been a team that has been very deliberate and high quality in those wide areas. Precision delivery, good pace, good shape. And it's followed up by good numbers in the box, because for Detroit City, you have Ben Morris, 10 goals last year, tied for the team lead. Now who fills in and picks up where Maxi Rodriguez was with 10 goals? I mean, is that, obviously you get in Darren Smith, 2 seasons in the Finnish top flight, 72 appearances, 28 goals. So you bring in a proven goal scorer.
Got Quinzati on the
Yeah,
bench.
I was just about to say, you brought in an experienced player and a dynamic attacking presence in Sebastian Guenzati.
And then on top of that, when it comes to the roster this season, Danny Dicchio, although he feels fitness-wise and strength, they're not at where they were at this point last season. He did say he really likes the depth and the pieces roster-wise this go-around in 2025. His objective, make the squad a little bit younger and then balance it out with some experience like Jay Chapman, like Quinzati. You mentioned Darren Smith. He's got some time under his belt, not in the USL, but just in the professional ranks. Ward, his service just a little low. Detroit able to handle it. But he mentioned, as far as on that attacking side, he's really happy with the firepower they've got this year.
And you could see them growing into this match. The outlet is making itself available. They're finding and choosing the right areas to recuperate possession and keep the ball. And when you get into this final third, it's about how can you move pieces? How do you move defenders? Where and when? Whether it's through combination play, whether it's through some individual brilliance. as they grow into the match, they've grown through the first two phases. Now it's about finding a bit more fluidity in that final third for Detroit City.
This ball lofted forward. Falls back to the second layer. Micheletto leaves it behind. Hanya, look at the dribbling work. He gets taken down. Ref says play on. Micheletto, he fires. Second effort towards goal. Too easy for the keeper.
Hanya has been absolutely electric in this first half, and that's somebody for me coming into this season. Can he have a breakout 2025? We talked about what they lose with Ronaldo Damas not being in this side, but Yosuke Hanya, 5 goals last season, 2 assists in his 37 appearances. Can that expand? Juan Tejada, same thing. So you have 2 players that are primed and ready to step into that spotlight. Obviously, I say step into the spotlight, but Juan Tejada, the finals MVP last year.
He's familiar with the spotlight.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But sometimes you bring the spotlight on yourself versus if the spotlight's on you in the first place. It's a little bit different.
Yep.
Errant pass. Be a Detroit City FC throw. Colorado Springs Soccer is brought to you by Sunbelt Rentals. Local hustle, national muscle.
I think you're just seeing a bit of inconsistency from Detroit City right now. Their distances are just not sustainable. Their front line is kind of absorbing itself into the midfield. Their midfield then absorbs itself into the back line. This game is about winning the battle of distances. And when you see that it's right and it's on, Detroit City has been spot on with the ability to find that outlet, create those opportunities. But there are moments off the ball that they are just so congested. And that just does not give you the options going forward. I don't say it has to be direct or vertical all the time, but in terms of just the outlets themselves. Can you get Darren Smith higher up the field?
They push something here. Here's Cedeno. Lovely ball through, squared in the middle. Dealt with there. Cleared out by Mahoney.
Terrific patience by Cedeno, and then following it up with the pace and tempo it needed on that pass. Almost looked like Darren Smith just needed a second action in that 6-yard box. He had driven the defenders back towards their own goal. He just either needed to let up in that second action or just change direction just a bit.
Well, that's just lackadaisical on the ball. Switchbacks just hungry right now. Hanya lays it off. Can the home side be onto something here? Skipping effort, took some skids. Switchbacks FC cooking here. That's well stabbed, and Detroit City cuts off the attack for a moment. Our player to watch in this one going in for the home side, Zach Sandy. A player who can plug into any position in the midfield. but not just as a footballer, just a great person. He's been around this club now, this being his 5th year. James Chambers mentioned that he's known him even before 2019, just a wonderful person and a joy to be around. And then talking about him as a footballer, he said he's an underrated player across the league, but that doesn't bother him. He knows his worth, we know his worth, and the fans here in Colorado Springs know his worth as well. They understand what he means for the club. So he's a special player where it matters, as a volley one-timer skied over top. Alex Villanueva, a 22-year-old, going for something special.
It's better here from Detroit City. Service, we talked about their ability and their intent in those wide spaces. Villanueva explode into that area. That would have been a terrific finish.
That was a great ball from that corner. Tight window. Careless giveaway. Here's Detroit. Strip just inside the penalty area. Nothing doing, says Greg Dopka. A little awkward here with possession for both sides. Back and forth it goes. Detroit has it again. So at this point in the game, Colorado Springs surely are the happier of the two sides with how things have gone. The scoreline's still at 0-0. And I think that's pretty quintessential for this Detroit City team. They are a tough nut to crack. And there's numbers to back it. They're undefeated in their last 11 USL Championship games. Remember, they lost in penalties to Tampa, so in the record book, that's a draw.
Yep.
It is a tough team to beat, whether it be in 90 minutes or 120 minutes. Their last real loss coming in August 24th against Tulsa.
And what that says, Mark, is not only are you disciplined and structured in what you want to do, but you don't beat yourself. They don't set opponents up, and that's something that if you're going to create a chance, it's going to have to be of quality. That makes it difficult for some teams, as we see Shane Wheat picking up a yellow here and frustrated with that call.
Yellow card been issued to Shane Wheat of Detroit City FC. This caution is sponsored by Diversus Health, mental health and well-being for all. Remember to take a moment to breathe.
And what we've seen so far, and it's really been the last like 10 minutes that Detroit City is grown into this match, where they're able to set a bit more tempo, be influential on the ball, find some spaces they're looking for. But it's the decisiveness from Colorado Springs Switchbacks that is posing a threat to Detroit City. I mean, you look at some of the stats. Touches in opposition box, it's 13 for Colorado Springs Switchbacks, it's 3 for Detroit City FC. So that just showcases the decisiveness. Final third entries is 31 for Colorado Springs Switchbacks, 18 to Detroit City FC.
Switchbacks looking to knock on the door here. Playing it into Hanya. Errant pass, stepped on. And now Detroit pushing in the other direction. Morris slips it to his left. Can Smith break through? Players go tumbling, nothing doing.
It's just a big time play by Duke Lacroix. Terrific interchange by Detroit City, the run by Darren Smith. Just unable to get any sort of shot off.
You mentioned it earlier, and I'd like to reiterate this as two teams that want to be exciting offensively. We've got 4 great center backs here.
Yeah.
Matt Mahoney, Duke Lacroix, Shane Wheat, and Stephen Carroll. Talk about an assembly of guys right there in the core of these formations.
Yeah, isn't this the truth?
eFootball is here. Live your dream, rep your team, and play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball is free to play. Download now. Tejada chesting that one down. Cleared out.
And again, to add to your point about the featuring center backs in this match, what makes them so difficult is not only their high quality defensively, but they are playmaking center backs. Whether it's those late entries, that ability to insert themselves in the attacking half, or that passing range and unlocking space higher up the field, just rewards those players up higher up the field that are making those runs and being explosive. So you see now Charlie Adams making his case.
Very frustrated after that call. There was a push, and the contact wasn't immediately displayed by the victim here. Maybe he got tangled by the arm, but Cedeno going down a little delayed there after the contact.
Yeah, it was two teams that recognized exactly where they were. Colorado Springs Switchbacks knew that they had Detroit City pinned, and Detroit City knew that they had themselves pinned, and Cedeno feeling a little bit of contact in the back, able to get his team out of that pressure. But again, two teams that are very comfortable on the ball, that want to be ball dominant, that want to see influence and play go through the midfield.
Big day here, Colorado Springs. 0-0 so far in this one as we're getting closer to halftime. You already saw the championship banner get released, or revealed, I should say. They gave away a commemorative ticket and a beanie to those in attendance. Before the game, there was the Sea of Cyan fan zone. Had some vendors, a DJ. Just an overall fun day. Nicoletto plays it across. No one's there for it, and no one to pick it up over in the left wing. Almost waiting for that camera to pan over, and voila, someone would be there. But everybody was committed further forward.
And that's some of those pieces that are gonna kind of work themselves out here early on in the season, is the recognition that you have 3 players that have already driven the opponent's back line in front of goal. Now it's the responsibility of somebody along that far post to pull out of that space.
Villanueva into the 18, he goes. Villanueva back across. It's an open goal, but no one for Detroit could get there. The fans sound off pleased. That was a bind.
What a play, 1 versus 1 by Villanueva.
Here's an opportunity, volleyed strike. Herrera saves it. First shot on goal for Detroit.
And I would say that this, obviously the frustration is some dangerous space is very available for Detroit City here as we see this left-footed strike. Tremendous save by Herrera.
Pikes Peak National Bank corner kick. It's served in. It's brought to you by Pines Peak National Bank. Bank well, be well, cheer loud. This is now subsided here.
Because as much as these teams, coaches, players, know that it's early, obviously you never want to put yourself into a hole early in the season, put yourself in where you're trying to play catch up already in terms of matches, points. But this is where trends start to stack upon themselves. You know, whether it's scoring goals, defensively, those phases of the game begin to kind of show their true colors. And in their first match right now, Colorado Springs against El Paso, late first half goal by Moreno to equalize. And then Cabrera with the late equalizer in the second half in the 92nd minute to draw that level at 2-2.
Well, it's going to be 0-0 here after 45 minutes. It's 45 clean here from Widener Field. Some chances for Colorado Springs, but they couldn't put any of them away. A moment or two for Detroit at the end, but scoreless going into the break. Halftime content coming up next on ESPN Plus. As we got some Team of the Week news and notes. We'll look at our healthcare pro of the match. All on the way here. 0-0 your scoreline after 45 though. We'll see you on the other side.
Injured in a crash? Get McDivitt and you get a firm dedicated to every single detail of your case.
We have the knowledge and resources to investigate the crash and your insurance company's small print.
Details matter. That's why we dive deep into every aspect of your case. This gives us the firepower we need to make the insurance company pay you the money you deserve.
We never ask you to pay a penny until we get you max money for your injuries.
Online at mcdivittlaw.com.
McDivitt.
The moment you call McDivitt, an action plan is put into place right away to get you the help you need.
Each case and each client is different, with different needs and solutions. Your attorney and team immediately investigates every aspect of your crash and injuries.
We track down all the paperwork and deal directly with the insurance company for you.
We keep you in the loop every step of the way, fighting to get you max money for your injuries.
And you never pay us a dime until we get money for you.
McDivitt.
When I came back from the war, I was barely hanging on by a thread. I'm here today because of Tanya's relentless efforts in trying to get me healed. And says, Michael, I know you've got a plan to take your life today, but if you give me just 5 more minutes to love you. 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, honey, 5 more minutes to love.
Michael has actually taught me what it looks like to accept help.
Scoreless after after 45 minutes here. 0-0 between Colorado Springs and Detroit. At halftime, Mark Schoenster with you on ESPN Plus. Let's take a look at our healthcare pro of the match. Tonight's honorary healthcare professional of the match is Nicole Burnt, an assistant nurse manager at St. Francis Hospital Emergency Department. Thank you, Nicole, for all you've done to help our community. The healthcare professional of the match is sponsored by Olson Plumbing and Heating. Once again, thank you to Nicole for everything that you do. We've got some great halftime content coming up on ESPN Plus. After 45, 0-0 between the two sides, but we still have tons to talk about. We'll see you after this break.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Tiptoed the line. Wilson! Brilliant!
He has been on fire at Tampa Bay!
Cross forward, put down by Gagi! The hero! Let's go!
Pain doesn't care who you are or why you hurt, but pain can be mastered if you know the way. Fight back with Tiger Balm's legendary herbal power. Trusted for over 100 years, our proven blend of camphor, menthol, and essential oils tames pain with the strength and speed of the tiger, so that you can rise above pain and get back to living. This is the way of the tiger.
Success doesn't come easy. It takes grit, hustle, and relentless effort. Every step forward brings you closer to greatness. This is your moment. Elevate your game. El Jimador Spiked Bebidas.
Back here at Widener Field, 0-0 after 45 between Colorado Springs and Detroit. Mark Schoenster and Eric Nabransky with you here on ESPN+. Hope you've been having a good first half of action here and are enjoying your little halftime break. It's time to do some catching up here on the news and notes around performances that both of these teams looking for a win here this evening. 0-0 right now, so right now it's a point apiece. Let's see if one of those teams can grab all three here in the second half on ESPN+.
Bounces and a score, Cabrera!
If week one taught us anything in USL Championship play, it's that this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint.
Dogman! Denied!
We saw such a wide variety of ways to go about their business on the field of play, and yet quality of talent not lacking whatsoever. Can't wait to see week 2 and beyond of what these teams bring to the field of play.
Injured in a crash? Get McDivitt and you get a firm dedicated to every single detail of your case.
We have the knowledge and resources to investigate the crash and your insurance company's small print.
Details matter. That's why we dive deep into every aspect of your case. This gives us the firepower we need to make the insurance company pay you the money you deserve.
We never ask you to pay a penny until we get you max money for your injuries.
Online at McDivittLaw.com.
McDivitt.
The moment you call McDivitt, an action plan is put into place right away to get you the help you need.
Each case and each client is different, with different needs and solutions. Your attorney and team immediately investigates every aspect of your crash and injuries.
We track down all the paperwork and deal directly with the insurance company for you.
We keep you in the loop every step of the way, fighting to get you max money for your injuries.
And you never pay us a dime until we get money for you.
McDivitt.
The bravest person I know is my daughter, Cynthia.
My friend Sean, and he was in the Air Force.
One of the bravest things he ever did wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
It was when he asked to move in with me and my mom.
I felt like I was lost, and you gave me a place to stay.
She went on foreign soil. She went to war. But the bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
The PTSD, depression, anxiety. I needed somebody to sit on my side of the table. Bree made that happen for me. KOAA, Channel 5, they care about the military, they care about the veterans. I've never seen this kind of care in my 80 years. Thank goodness for Bree helping me out. God put an angel in my life, and it just touched me so much.
Second half is on deck. On the plate, we've got highlights and stats for you here between Colorado Springs and Detroit City FC. Mark Schoenster, Eric Dobransky with you on ESPN+. Here are your highlights from the first 45 minutes for your viewing pleasure. It was an early flurry in this game for the home side.
It was. They came out, played on the front foot, played decisive. Anya was all over the place in the final third. So good on the ball, the runs off the ball, being dynamic, explosive, services. I mean, and it was done in a variety of different ways for Colorado Springs Switchbacks. Then we saw Detroit City kind of grow into the match, get their footing in, test from distance here from Darren Smith. And that was the connection. We started to see Ben Morris and Darren Smith. Obviously, we see Reese Williams there on that right flank that wanted the ball, but overall, good ideas, and it was followed up by good execution from Detroit City. But Colorado Springs continued to ask different questions, pinning this Detroit City side back into their own area. I talked about the distances in that first 45, and got stuck absorbing a lot of pressure from Colorado Springs. But Detroit City had some of the better chances to end that first half, and that's something that James Chambers and his side are going to be a bit frustrated with, because they did the same at El Paso last weekend, obviously conceding late in both halves of that game. This save from Herrera keeps this at 0-0, but there was an opportunity by Villanueva before that as well.
Well, twice the shots on target for the home team. Also had 61% of possession, so the energy that we were feeling in that first half was that Colorado Springs had the better of the game. The numbers back it up. The highlights, in essence, back it up. But like you said, Detroit City were just as close to scoring as Colorado Springs were.
Yeah, and I can't think of a loud moment that Carlos Saldana has had to come up with a huge save. And I can think, and obviously we saw in the highlight package that Christian Herrera had to make that save to end that first half to keep it at 0-0. So for the quality that Colorado Springs is showcasing in the final third, the decisiveness, the movement, the multi-dimensional play, they haven't rewarded themselves with that final piece.
So 45 more minutes to go here. Switching ends and feeling the music and some fireworks too. All the pageantry of a home opener. It'll be Darren Smith to get us going from Detroit City. Greg Dopka once again our head official. Let's see if we got a goal in this one. Both teams have sought for it.
And I would dare to say that this is what both sides expected. They expected two teams. We mentioned the back line for both these sides throughout that first 45. Both these coaches, both these teams knew that there was going to have to be something special
there for the home side. A hopeful ball played forward. No one on the other end of it. Saldana will take his time to distribute. Draw last week for Colorado Springs, victory on the road for Detroit. So both teams picking up points in their first match. James Chambers jokingly said, we're already better than we were last year in that regard. But a bevy of opportunities for these two sides. None could be capitalized in the first 45 minutes. Hanya gets by one man. Yosuke Hanya still going with it. He shoots, falls back in, and Juan Tejada opens up the scoring. It starts with a great run from Yosuke Hanya, and Juan Tejada put himself in a prime spot to punch it home.
And right out of the gates here to start the second half, it's two players that we had touched on in the first that we thought could possibly have breakout 2025. Hanya, just that elusive touch along that touch line. And look at that. And then the vision, the awareness to go to goal and not just towards the end line. So often you see players get around that corner and they just drive straight. And then that eliminates so many dangerous options. He goes straight to goal. All focus and attention goes to him. The initial save by Saldana, but Juan Tejada there to pick it up, put it away, put his team up 1-0.
This Switchbacks goal is presented by Gold Hill. Gold Hill, the best address. And now the tenor of this game changes. Detroit had to bunker down and withstand a lot of pressure in that first half. But you can do that more calmly when it's a 0-0 game, when it's still tied up, but you're trailing now.
Well, going back to that touchline move from Hanya, the recognition that there lacked support and help behind the first defender, and understanding that if he could win his 1v1 duel in that area, he had acres of space to go attack. And when you have acres of space, you're gonna naturally move defenders, and that he did. As I mentioned, all the attention and focus then went to him, and everybody lost Juan Tejada. Just makes a living operating where goals are scored.
Ball ripped in centrally. No one to pick it up for Detroit. Morris with the hopeful ball inside. Searched and couldn't connect. Let's see how much more aggressive the visitors get now. 11 games unbeaten in USL Championship play.
And then for Colorado Springs, how do you mitigate some of that aggressiveness that you're talking about? Because that's something that, again, it's very early, but trend-wise, they scored in the second minute against El Paso in their opening week match. Then they followed that up, scoring earlier on the second. Let play go on here.
Huramet dealt with there, and it's another collision. Two collisions in a sequence there.
Heavy touch there towards the end for Huramet. Knew Stephen Carroll wasn't going to shy out of that tackle.
Not one to shy away from much. Now maybe decision time for James Chambers. This injury stoppage is brought to you by Common Spirit Health. Quincy Huramet down on the ground. The Frenchman in his second year with the side. So first you get this collision between him and Bryant. Oof. But play goes on. He gets back up.
It's that touch right there by Huramet that just gets away. And the experience of Stephen Carroll, knowing that he had help behind so he could step into that space. Huramet had already made the decision that he was going to go with the heavy touch. It does look like he's going to continue.
The difference between running into a staunch defender on his back foot versus running into one who's coming at you. Long ball down the other end. Ward, wonderful turn. Completely erases any danger. And now Zandy will hold things up for the home side.
Going back to that aggressiveness that you'd mentioned with Detroit City, for James Chambers and his team, Can they keep the foot on the gas? You started out this second half just like you did in the first half. Dynamic. The versatility in the attacking third. Now can you continue to reward that work rate, that industriousness?
There's always a period here at the beginning of the season where teams are trying to get back into, I guess, shape of what they want to look like in a season, get acclimated to the year, playing the way they want to play. I got the chance to talk to Danny Dicchio just about how long it takes usually to get back in form per se as a player. He jokingly said in England it wasn't until Christmas that I felt fit, and then I ate a lot over the break and was back at square one again. But here in the States, on a more serious note, with how we do preseason, it's probably about week 2, week 3 that you get into your flow. You have a couple games under your belt. Get back into the motions of it. He mentioned in particular these guys at Detroit, they love match day. Look back sometime 1-0. And we've got another injury stoppage brought to you by Common Spirit Health, and it's the same man as last time, Quincy Urmet. At this point, you're wondering if perhaps it'd be best to take him out.
And what does James Chambers and his staff do? See, you've got Fjellberg, who had that second goal in that El Paso match, so came on as a second half sub, made an impact. If Justin Dillon, that's available. So influential acquisition last season.
So perhaps those conversations taking place now. You also want to know what kind of player do you want to bring in? Are you trying to bring in someone who's more aggressive, or do you want to shake things up a little bit and bolster the back a little more? It's an opportunity to do so, though it does look like Anthony Fontana is the one who's trying to get himself loose. So it looks like Urmet's night, or evening per se, will come to a close. And taking his place, Anthony Fontana. Got the start last game, will come off the bench in this one. A man from Delaware, given the responsibility here to step in and help preserve this lead for the home team. Also gonna get another change while we're at it here. Levante Johnson, the birthday boy, turning 26 today. He'll step in, he'll get a crack at it. So, Charlie Adams also steps out, and it'll actually be more so Fontana for Adams and Levante Johnson for Urmet. So definitely still some firepower out there for the Switchbacks. Those substitutions brought to you by UCCS, where business careers start. That one is played up the pitch. Mahoney rolling it up the field. Johnson with a good touch. Can Tejada keep it in? He does. The first goal scorer plays it across. And not much to that one. Will bounce out for a deep throw in their own territory though, Detroit. Select is proud to be the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship. From the Academy to the big leagues, Select is there every step of the way. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice. players going up for that one for Detroit.
We've talked about the structure from both these teams and how difficult it was going to be matchup-wise when you have two teams and two coaches that excel at implementing and imposing their identity. And that's something that when you concede early, it's something that you don't have to go chase the game just yet, is what I'm saying. You don't have to change anything, and I'm not saying you would change the identity, but how do you shift and possibly create the opportunity that you need to equalize? And when you concede early, you don't have to do that immediately. You can stick to what you were doing. We saw the success they were having towards the end of that first half. But at what point do you see Detroit City maybe open up just a bit more and add a bit more verticality to what they do in the initial build, and then just the commitment to the numbers going forward? Obviously, this is a team that commits quality numbers quite often anyways, but you might see a bit more risk towards the end of this match if this game stays at 1-0.
I have a point and a counterpoint for you that springs in my mind when you're talking about this. You're down a goal. You're saying don't abandon your values and what makes up your team's style. On one hand, it is early in the season, so that style is not quite yet defined for these teams yet. You're not comfortable in it yet. But my counterpoint for Detroit is they do have a lot of returning players who have been here for a couple years, who can reinforce the way they want to play, the way Danny Dicchio has been preaching and training. So it's very interesting that mental balance there as you talk about when do you start pulling the trigger and getting a bit more aggressive, have a little more reckless abandon. So 2 substitutions here for Detroit City. First off, Maury Donor is subbing in for Reese Williams. And then Connor Rutz will sub in for Polisi. So 2 more substitutions for you. Brought to you by UCCS, where business careers start.
Just didn't see the heavy involvement from Polisi that we did last week against Miami FC. Obviously, every game has a story of its own, but that's something that early on I thought we had seen some glimpses of, and then it just kind of faded away. And then you bring on a player like Maury Donor, the experience and the quality that he has in those wide spaces.
Bryant will look to get this one going. Welcome to the game. Maury Donor gets checked as he touches the ball for the first time, or even tries to get to the ball for the first time. Back in the mix here. Diagonal ball across the center. Might spill into the middle, and it trickles through. We are all tied up here. A long ball across, and then it falls to the feet of Darren Smith.
And Detroit City just catching Colorado Springs, not locked in. The header comes across, and Darren Smith, this just comes from attitude and being opportunistic. You could see him on the run. And this ball just gets played back, almost thinking that you've got the ability to not necessarily play out of the back, but you've got support there. But the run never stopped from Darren Smith.
Desire demonstrated from the striker. He gets his first ever in the USL, having played abroad up until now. Coming from FC Inter Turku, which is Finland's top flight. Now he has a goal in the ranks of the USL. And we're all tied up here again, Eric.
And that's going to be a disappointing one for Colorado Springs because it's just a casual restart from Detroit City. Early foul on Maury Donor, and then just the restart, they catch them not switched on.
This corner kick is brought to you by McDivitt Law Firm. McDivitt is in your corner. So how will the home side respond now? A header from Akeem Ward put it back across the center. Darren Smith picks it up and puts it away. Marco Micheletto, he'll be the one to drive this in. He headed outward. Take two. Micheletto kept that one in play. Looked tight. And they'll press on. Colorado Springs Soccer is brought to you by Sunbelt Rentals. Local hustle, national muscle. That changes things here a little bit, as that one was not kept in play. Anya went for the volley. It wouldn't have mattered whether he connected on that one well or not. See what this Switchbacks team is made of when it came to the offseason objective. James Chambers said we wanted to bring back a core while also challenging that core with some new faces. He mentioned when it comes to what defines this season's squad for Colorado Springs, he said the effort of this team is exceptional, second to none. They're gonna need all that effort here. One change on the docket for the home team coming up. Tejada wins the ball back for his side. Possession changing here. Detroit City now, and they lose it. I think these next 5 to 10 minutes, Eric, are gonna be pretty pivotal. Who could grab hold of this one? Micheletto driving it out wide. Levante Johnson now. Johnson pops this one up for Hanya. Not a bad look.
And to your point just a minute ago, when you're playing against an opponent and you have two teams today that are ambitious, they want to be lifting trophies, you are going to get a championship type of response from each other. You saw it from Detroit City just a minute ago, equalizing, and now you see it from Colorado Springs Switchbacks. These are two teams that are going to want to search for answers. They're going to want to problem solve. They're going to collaborate. They're going to work together to strike back as we see the substitution.
The substitution brought to you by UCCS, where business careers start. Jonas Fjellberg scored their second goal last week. They'll be hoping to get in the mix on one here. This corner kick brought to you by McDivitt Law Firm. McDivitt is in your corner. A feint, driven ball in, goes right across the mouth. We're gonna say some pressure from Levante Johnson. A little too much contact there. Getting into the grill of Michael Bryant. Take a look at that corner kick again. An interesting deflection.
Yeah, dangerous one at that. Whenever you hit that front post, you get the slightest of touches. It's always a free-for-all. depending on what area it finds for its second action, but you see the introduction of Fjellberg. Obviously, we've already seen Levante Johnson come on. And this is a...
Tejada making the run, kept it in play.
And that, to my point, this is a Colorado Springs switchback side that only knows one speed, and that is to go forward. Obviously, they like to be on the ball, and they'll connect both sides of the field, but you have attacking presence that, it's going to sound stating the obvious, but know exactly where the goal is. We saw it with the first goal they scored with Hanya on the touchline, and then dribbling directly at goal. Seen the play from Levante Johnson. And then you bring on Fjellberg, who had a goal last week against El Paso. It's a very progressive attacking group.
That one beyond the stretched extent of Maury Donor. Can't watch the match? Turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access on Tuesday nights. Plus hear live matches from the USL, MLS, Premier League, and more. All on Sirius XM FC 157 and the new Sirius XM app. Fjellberg, the substitute, plays this in centrally, good find. Johnson, thought about the shot, still Johnson. His take glances forward. Donor just has to get that one out of harm's way. Coletto has that one glanced out by Ben Morris. A goal to open up the half from Juan Tejada, and then an equalizer off of what some would describe as an error. Darren Smith is opportunistic. Whistle blows. It'll be a free kick about as far away from the goal they like to get to as possible. Let's take a peek at that contact here.
The work rate by Fontana, trying to get around this ball, but has wrapped his arms around Michael Bryant. I always love the post foul argument when clearly exposed that you've wrapped your hands around.
I mean, at that point, whether you really pull a lot or not doesn't make a difference. The ref sees your hands there.
Yep,
they
exactly.
fall backwards. That's over. We're going to get two substitutions here in a moment for Detroit, and actually they're happening right now. First off, Cedeno's day is over. Sebastian Guenzati, goal scoring aficionado. He'll come in, and then a debut as far as in Detroit City FC colors was just signed this week. Or not signed, he's been loaned this week. That's Jordan Adebayo-Smith, donning number 99. That was announced earlier this week. He's on loan from Minnesota United. He'll be stepping in for Darren Smith, the goal scorer. So his day will be coming to an end. But two offensive weapons in demonstrates the motives of Danny Dicchio. The whole winning at home, getting a draw on the road moniker, not here. If it's a game you can win, Detroit City's going for it. So a happy debut for Mr. Adebayo-Smith. Far from a debut for Guinzotti, at least in the USL.
Fontana's going to pick up a yellow. He had the foul on the end line just a few moments ago, and now a foul on Jay Chapman.
Persistent infractions here from Fontana. A yellow card has been issued to Anthony Fontana. This caution is sponsored by Diversus Health, mental health and well-being for all. Remember to take a moment to breathe.
It's like Fontana just catches him with that swipe of the right foot.
For a little bit of more background on Jordan Adebayo-Smith, not unfamiliar with USL. It's been a couple of years. Played with the Tampa Bay Rowdies back in 2021, scored 4 goals. And then in 2022 was with Red Bulls 2, scored 7 goals and 3 assists. So not his USL debut, but his debut with Detroit City.
Another free kick for Detroit City, and see for Colorado Springs, making sure they're tidy with not only the first action, but the second and third.
Service here, courtesy of Ben Morris. What can they do from this set piece opportunity? Punched away. Well, that's one thing for certain. It's going to be hard to deliver in a floating ball into the penalty box that's occupied by Christian Herrera. 6'7" goalkeeper. He can get up and punch it with the best of them.
Yeah, 13 clean sheets last season. He is a commanding presence in that 18-yard box.
That's a point to the goal that was scored earlier. You're gonna have some composure when a man that size is coming at you.
And Darren Smith just never stopped running, never stopped moving his feet. He's clever in the end with his finish, as you mentioned, with a goalkeeper like Christian Herrera coming off his line.
I'm gonna ask for your opinion here, Eric. In the previous game, well, actually, I'll hold that thought. We got a substitution on the docket for the home side. Another attacking weapon coming in. Juan Tejada, the goal scorer, is out. Justin Dillon makes his entry. This substitution brought to you by UCCS, where business careers start. Dillon came on midway through last season. So this will be potentially his first full year with the club. If he can reach to August, it'll have been a year spent here in Colorado Springs.
He's now won 2 USL championships, one with San Antonio, and is that late acquisition for Colorado Springs. And
oh yeah, so he won it last year with the team. Yep. Racking up 2 titles. Nothing to turn your nose up at, that's for certain.
I think everybody's trying to catch Speedy Williams and the amount of titles that he has.
Some guys just win wherever they go. But to get back to my point that I was going to talk about earlier with you, the midfield for James Chambers' side, he talked about how in that previous game against El Paso, had Sandy at the 6. He felt there was a lot of effort from those guys. He thought that they could have been utilized more in that game. And he said it was not the most polished outing, but there are some good footballers in the midfield on this squad, and that they will show their skill in time throughout this season. How have you felt this midfield's been utilized in this game for Colorado
Yeah,
Springs?
that's a great question, because I think Marco Micheletto is one player that sticks out that has not had heavy involvement or influence in this game. You saw it a bit in the first 45, him get on the ball, be dangerous, but besides that, there hasn't been the inclusion of second and third action. So I still think there's a lot of growth there. You know, I agree, obviously, with, you know, what you had mentioned before, and obviously James Chambers said there's the ability to utilize this midfield a bit more, and I would say that this is another performance that has just put them closer to maximizing what this midfield can do. Terrific ball in from Fontana.
Gilbert, not the best touch there though. Was trying to get by Stephen Carroll. It was sort of a touch the ball, then draw the contact afterwards.
And I said it in the open when we talked about the starting 11 for Colorado Springs. This is a midfield that is fully equipped and balanced to be one of the best in the USL. And I say that with losing a player like Speedy Williams, a terrific midfielder.
Service, too much arc on it. Gilbert back across. This one will sputter by Real. Lee out for a switchbacks throw.
I think anytime you're kind of building those relationships in midfield, it's about the timing, it's about the roles and responsibilities. What do you feel comfortable with? Where do you want the majority of your time and your space being spent on? And that just comes with a bit of time and a bit of fluidity and working together. Obviously, you have preseason games, you have training, but there is nothing that can mimic real matches. And we talked about identity earlier on. I mean, you can't train being up a goal, down a goal. I mean, you could train it, but it's just not, it's not gonna stick like it is when you're actually in the thick of things.
Switchbacks FC is brought to you by Sunbelt Rentals. Local hustle, national muscle. Gonna need some muscle here from one of these two teams if 3 points are gonna be acquired. Who has the ability to will it forward? Or will it be a point apiece? I think both sides have demonstrated their quality in this one, and luckily we have previous years as extra context to know that this is a heavyweight match, and I think it's been displayed in this one, the quality that these two teams pose. Donor along the touchline, knocked out of play by Mahoney. It's been Switchbacks FC, the ones pushing to try to find that winner. That can sway in a moment. I mean, case in point, the first goal that Detroit City scored was just a wishful ball, and then the wish was granted.
Just a bit of a miscue in the back on the Detroit City FC goal.
They could have an opportunity here. Squared ball, lovely across, and it's in. Detroit City breakthrough. One of the most common of goal scorers in the USL Championship, notching his first in these new colors.
And the second goal for Detroit City FC coming shortly after a restart. So the first goal coming off a free kick, playing it back, and the same here, coming off a throw-in, working it backwards, then connecting the other side.
So it looks like Guenzati doesn't ever get a piece of it, but his presence certainly felt. That's gonna go down as an own goal. Sebastian Guenzati, 81 goals in USL Championship. It's gonna stay at that number because I do think it was the sliding challenge prior to Guenzati that put it into the back of the net. He'll enjoy it all the same.
Well, you talked about the presence. It's the influence that you talk about that causes that. The drive at the goal, and you put that ball in a place where the defender has to try to make a play on it. That's why you tell players consistently that when you're driving at that end line and you're in that half space, just drive that ball with pace on the ground and put it in a space where either your teammate can make a play on the ball or the defenders do the work for you. And again, for James Chambers and his side, they're going to be disappointed because obviously conceding 2 goals, but the way in which they've happened.
Not a bad look there from Johnson, trying to sneak that by right along the byline. So they are going to log it as an own goal for Duke Lacroix. Was put in a bad spot, had to keep it from getting to Guenzati. There's not much that you can do there.
No, it's just an effort play. You're trying to make a play on the ball. Just unfortunate. But again, that goes back to credit to Detroit City for being aggressive in that moment. Aggressive on the drive for Jay Chapman. That opens up that half space.
Adebayo Smith keeps it in bounds. Trying to show off some of his quality. And now, Detroit City, they get to be the ones to apply the pressure. Dylan, and they spring loose in the other direction. Carroll decided not going to have any of that business.
Just not enough on that ball from Micheletto. Terrific idea, just didn't follow it up with the execution he had in mind. He had the space in behind. See the foul here on Ward. He takes that first touch. It's that follow-up action right there.
Yeah.
Tangles himself up with Ben Morris.
So 5 more minutes to go. Adebayo Smith over in the corner. Trying to sneak that one by. Ultimately, though, any play with the ball at this stage of the game is a victory for Detroit City.
Yeah, just seeing precious time come off the clock, and we touched on earlier in the second half that when you concede early in a half, you can stick to your identity, you can stick to your principles, your values. Now, when you concede late, do you kind of see that open up just a bit more and at a more rapid pace, where you're committing those numbers and you're looking a bit more vertical earlier? Doesn't change the way that they want to play in these build-up phases, but that ball right there.
Fjellberg, that is a heroic header there. Donor not having it. Just before Fjellberg could get a touch on it, Maury Donor, the Canadian, interjects. But a corner kick is coming. This corner kick is brought to you by Pikes Peak National Bank. Bank well, be well, cheer loud. The fans have been cheering loud throughout this one here at Widener Field. There's a late equalizer in store for us. Micheletto. Balls to the plate, and it's taken away by Ben Morris. Donor's making a run. Might be offside now, though.
And we're featuring the same scoreline that we featured last year in Detroit City's visit to Widener Field.
It was a late goal then, too.
Yeah.
Fontana. Nothing much there. Yeah, to reiterate, Detroit City is 2-0 here at Widener Field. It's a 2-1 series overall. The away team winning every matchup so far, and Detroit trying to keep that pattern going.
And spoil back-to-back home openers.
A little bit more to spoil this go around with all the festivities.
And I had that opener last year when Detroit City visited Widener, and I will say that both these sides have looked, I think they look terrific today in terms of you see two teams that not only are ambitious in who they've added and who they've retained, but what they have done in the offseason and the work that they've put in and some of the continuity that they've had identity-wise.
Johnson squaring it across. Check that, that's Akeem Ward. He's the one who got the header on it.
And this has been that heavyweight match that we thought it was going to be. Two teams that want to be towards the top of their respective conferences.
That's always the fun part when you've got two quality teams from different conferences playing each other too, is you always get the little extra question, is this a potential preview of what we're gonna see at the end of the season? Obviously there is so much footy to play between then and now, but you can't help but think it, especially when you look at how these teams have performed today. Some substitutions in the 90th minute. So Ben Morris going to sub out. And making his Detroit City debut, Haruki Yamazaki coming over from Northern Colorado Hailstorm. So actually, playing in Detroit is further away from where he played last, which was up in Windsor, Colorado, just this past season for Ayman Zayed and the Jägermeister Cup winning Northern Colorado Hailstorm. This substitution brought to you by UCCS, where business careers start. Now, here is stoppage time brought to you by TikTok Shop. And boy, is the stoppage time so important in this one. 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes for Switchbacks FC to rescue a point. It's 5 minutes for Detroit City to hang on to this lead they found. It's another situation where you look at the number, and I think it proves the point. The expected goals in this game is 1.05 for Colorado Springs, 0.41 for Detroit City. The visitors have been opportunistic when the moment has come. Adebayo Smith able to squeak that one away, and then that's a challenge that will go down into the foul booking.
This game, if the scoreline holds with Detroit City ahead, is going to be defined on, as you just mentioned, being opportunistic, but being efficient with the chances that they took. Because although they did grow into the match and had spells of being really dynamic and dangerous, the final third did sputter out just a bit for Detroit City. And not necessarily consistently creating some of those clear-cut opportunities. Obviously, two of their better ones coming at the end of the first half, and in that big save by Christian Herrera. But besides that, had the free kick restart that had a quick big ball over the top that miscue in the back, and Darren Smith just continuing his run, being clever with tucking that away, and then Sebastian Guenzati, the experience, the recognizing of moments, putting Duke Lacroix into a very difficult, precarious situation where he felt like he had to make a play. Unfortunately, ends up as an own goal.
Johnson plays it back. Service, searching for someone at the penalty spot. Lacroix applying pressure. That's a handball. So this will turn up some intrigue. A free kick for Colorado Springs in a pretty dangerous spot. This free kick scoring opportunity is brought to you by Underline, delivering gigabit fiber internet. Underline.com/COS.
This is another element that Marco Micheletto brings to this side, is being a free kick specialist. Obviously, well too deep to put this on frame, but there's no question that he can access the space that he wants to on the delivery.
And here it comes. Headed away, but not out of the fray. Dylan. His effort suffers a glance and bounces out for a corner kick. This corner kick is brought to you by McDivitt Law Firm. McDivitt is in your corner. What can these two teams provide for us here in the closing moments? Marco Micheletto had several dead ball situations today, consecutive ones here in added time. Fjellberg, how to go. It's Micheletto again. Out for a throw. 1 more minute.
Well done by Detroit City to clear their lines, make that space and that lane even more difficult for Fjellberg to work through. You're gonna get everything thrown at you here in the final minutes.
Lofted up ball, nothing of it. Ward, not a bad idea. And it'll be a goal kick. That may be the last moment in this one. Now it's all up to Greg Dopka. The 5 minutes have transpired. They have crashed the party. Detroit City FC victorious on the road at Widener Field again. 2-1 your final score. And a 2-game road stretch to start the year. Danny Dicchio's side collects all 6 points.
And overall, just a complete professional performance from Danny Dicchio's side. Absorbed pressure when they needed to. Had to really adjust to the pace and tempo that Colorado Springs was playing with.
The votes are in. The Groom Transportation Man of the Match is Juan Tejada. Groom Airport Shuttle providing stress-free transportation between Colorado Springs and DIA. Scored the opening goal in this one, the follow-up on the effort from Hanya. An exciting showing from Tejada. Always an exciting player to watch. Wasn't enough in this one, though, for the home side. So, 2-1 your final score here. Detroit City on the road victorious. With that, we're going to step aside, but we're not done yet here on ESPN Plus. We got our post-game thoughts coming up next. We'll see you on the other side.
In a crash, get McDivitt and you get a firm dedicated to every single detail of your case.
We have the knowledge and resources to investigate the crash and your insurance company's small print.
Details matter. That's why we dive deep into every aspect of your case. This gives us the firepower we need to make the insurance company pay you the money you deserve.
We never ask you to pay a penny until we get you max money for your injuries.
Online at McDivittLaw.com.
McDivitt.
The moment you call McDivitt, an action plan is put into place right away to get you the help you need.
Each case and each client is different, with different needs and solutions. Your attorney and team immediately investigates every aspect of your crash and injuries.
We track down all the paperwork and deal directly with the insurance company for you.
We keep you in the loop every step of the way, fighting to get you max money for your injuries.
And you never pay us a dime until we get money for you.
McDivitt.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Here are the full-time highlights in this absolute clash between.
You feel like you got to make that intervention, and unfortunately gets a touch that finds the back of his own goal.
This is going to be a tough stat sheet to look at if you're a Switchbacks fan, because it all favors the home side, but all 3 points are going to Detroit. These two teams will be back in action next weekend. It's a home opener against Birmingham for Detroit. Meanwhile, on the road, on Galazzo, against Sacramento Republic for James Chambers' side. But with that, that's where our show is going to wrap up here on ESPN+. A day decorative for Switchbacks, but the results go to Detroit City. 2-1 your final score here for our entire broadcasting crew. For Eric Dobransky, my name is Mark Schoenster. Thank you for watching this game, and we'll see you next time on ESPN+.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.